YouTube, we have a Heisman Trophy winner. Army Navy happened, and Jack is going to yell at you to like, subscribe, and comment.
And we give out our own awards. We give out some great awards, more awards that people care about than last night. That's a fact.
Comment your favorite Unnecessary Roughness Personality Award.
Oh, God. Well, we know who's going to win that, Jack.
Katie.
Katie's going to win it.
All right. All right.
Katie and that ass. That's who's
watch and enjoy. Hey, Casey.
Hi, Brandon. Hi, Jack.
Hello.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
How's your life going?
Just another Sunday. Is something going on with you?
Jack, did Patty not win that fight?
Oh, that's a good question.
No, the judges said that he won unanimously.
He
obviously
won.
I'm asking Jack if he won that fight.
Jared Gordon doesn't fight in a way that is conducive to winning decisions in certain instances. So,
Jack,
no, he didn't. Patty won the fight.
I'm asking who won that fight.
A lot of people that I respect think Jared won the fight. I personally it's not the biggest robbery ever. Maybe he got a little lucky, but guess what? Sometimes that's the Barstool allure. To deal with the devil, quote unquote.
You know who won the fight, Brandon?
Who?
Patty, because they said he won the fight.
No.
All right, fair enough. I didn't watch it, so I can't tell you. I was in bed at 10.
I didn't watch it, but I saw clips, and at the end of the day, it's like we've seen it happen with football games, basketball games. Like, you might want to argue about the final result, but at the end of the day, it's who gets that W on the paper. And Patty got it.
Fair enough. All right. Katie's not going to be here, right? She'll be back with us Tuesday.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So we got a Heisman Trophy to talk about, and then we're going to hand out some awards. Let's do a college football podcast.
Let's do it.
Hello, and welcome to Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool's college football podcast, brought to you by High Noon Hard Seltzer. High Noon with the pear and the cranberry, their new flavors this fall. They were dominant. They were fantastic. Great college football season for High Noon. They went 12-0 and won whatever conference they decided to participate in. Undefeated High Noon this football season. The tailgate pack is the best drink you can have, or the best collection of drinks. You can also go find the peach and the lime and the black cherry, all the great flavors. High Noon, college football, there is no better combination.
I was sitting on the RV yesterday before our college football show at the Army Navy game. And I was like, just looking outside because it was freezing. By the time the show happened, it wasn't, but it was freezing in the morning, but it was really sunny out. It looked really nice. So it was like perfect tailgating weather. And I just kind of surveyed the whole parking lot. And I swear every single tailgate had High Noon in it, every single one. And that parking lot is right next to the link. So it's not like we were in, our own little space. Tons of people drinking High Noon yesterday in Philly. Tons.
I think my 7-year-old's in there looking for something right now. He's just opening all the contraptions and making a lot of noise. I apologize about that. High Noon is delicious and wonderful and awesome. And also, Casey Smith, you are high if you believe yesterday was perfect tailgating weather. It was too cold.
Well, we know that you don't like cold weather, but also I have a question.
You don't either. Don't act like you do.
No, I actually do. I like cold weather. Now, do I want to be sitting outside when it's like 0 degrees? No, I'd much rather be in cold weather than hot weather. I've said it before. I can always layer up. I can't be naked. I can't be walking around naked, but you can always wear more clothing. However, I have a question for you with this because you hate the cold. You definitely are a warm weather guy, which is fine. It makes sense where you grew up. You don't wear big coats. And I don't get it. Like yesterday, it was freezing yesterday. And you showed up into the RV wearing just a lovely rowback hoodie, but no coat. No wonder you're always cold.
Let me tell you something. Not only do I not like, I don't like cold weather, but I also don't like what you have to wear in cold weather. I don't want a big ass coat that makes me feel like my arms are this big and this. I don't want to feel puffy all day. I want to feel fluffy. I want to have a lightness to me. I want to be like I want to be agile. I'm a critter, man. I move agilely from point A to point B. I got to be able. You can't hold me down.
That's what everybody says. Brandon Walker is an agile creature. That's the number one thing. I obviously that when you put too many clothes on, you feel like the kid from A Christmas Story. I can't put my arms down. I get that. But to me, it's like if you're cold and you thought it was too cold yesterday, and if you just put on a coat, then you can enjoy that weather. I thought that once the sun came out and the wind was like a little bit calmer, I was like, if I could drink right now and I could tailgate and do all those things, this would be perfect tailgating weather.
Well, new topic. I don't really care for A Christmas Story. I don't think it's a top 5 Christmas movie.
I do not either. Fun fact, I don't. And I haven't seen the new one. Don't care to see the new one. I don't know why.
I don't think it's that good.
I get it's like traditional and it's a classic and whatever. The fact that like it's a 24-hour loop on TBS or TNT or whatever, I've never understood that. It's not an up there, I need to watch every single year movie for me.
I think it came out before all the other ones and it got to classic status first. Like it had Christmas by itself for a while, and so it grabbed classic status. And if it had come out after these others, it wouldn't even be close.
There's moments of it that obviously are iconic, like the leg lamp, you'll shoot your eye out, whatever. But
the tongue on the thing, yeah.
Yes, but as I just said, I always think about I can't put my arms down. He can't get up because he's bundled up. But I think that it's pretty overrated. I will say it's like understandably the fact that we talk about it every year means that it's probably not necessarily overrated. I just personally don't like the movie as much as everybody else does.
Here's a rundown of the show. We'll talk about what happened yesterday in college football. Then we will move on to we put together some kind of off the beaten path awards, your non-traditional awards. Yesterday was Heisman Day, and you saw Jalen Hyatt won the Biletnikoff a couple of days ago. Brock Bowers from Georgia won the Mackey for the best tight end. And you had all those awards. Well, now we're going to, in fact, Jack, if you want to do that, if you could pull up a list of those awards.
100%. I got
like I said, Jalen Hyatt won the, I don't know, Max Duggan won the Davey O'Brien like an hour after he left us. He won the Davey O'Brien for the best quarterback in the country. Anyway, shout out to Max Duggan. We still appreciate him stopping by the other day. And that was fantastic.
Max Duggan won my award last night.
What was your award?
I thought he had the best suit at the Heisman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. He had a decent suit. First of all, Stetson Bennett looked like he stole tux off a dead man.
When you tweeted or when you texted that in the group text, like I audibly laughed out loud, like not one of those like, oh, LOL, but my face is like just resting bitch face. I actually laughed because I know how you feel about Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
But you were actually separating that from that thought because his suit it was the most boring accountant, no offense to accountants type suit I'd ever seen. And I couldn't figure out who let him dress like that.
Well, I was going to say he looked like a man, Men in Black suits, but it wasn't good enough looking suit for that. He looked like if the movie Men in Black was on and Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith were walking through the frame, in the background, there's Men in Black trainees doing like grunt work, working the desk or something. That's what he looked like. He looked like an extra. Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with like a plain black classic suit. There's nothing wrong with that. Like you guys can pull that off, especially like you mentioned, like, Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones in that movie, for example, great. So it's not even just that it was boring in comparison. It didn't fit right. I don't want to throw any advertisers under the bus that aren't advertisers with us, but just in case they want to advertise us. But there's a store where you can buy one, get like 7 free. Everybody knows that store. That's what it looked like to me, that he bought one and got one of the 7 for free, maybe didn't get it tailored and then put it on.
Just some noise at my house. I don't know if y'all can hear it.
We can't hear anything.
Okay. All right.
Nothing. And like my washing machine that's like not very far from me sounds like it's about to take off. So I'm right in that same boat with you. I don't know what's happening.
I think you cleaned your clothes.
You know that I do. I'm a weirdo with cleaning clothes.
Oh, you're a weirdo. I don't know about cleaning.
Well, I'm a weirdo, but I'm also like that. I was telling somebody the other day how weird it is that our office looks like complete shit because I've now just found a way to completely compartmentalize, because if I have one thing that's like not in its place, I don't need it to be like scrubbed clean. But if I have clothes laying out, it drives me nuts. And then I walk into the office and I'm living inside of a garage sale.
That's one thing people really don't know about you. You're the worst person.
What do you mean?
You're just such a bad person. And people really don't, we don't talk about that enough.
What?
What happened?
What did I do?
The Heisman Trophy was awarded yesterday to Caleb Williams of USC. Caleb
Also
Williams,
nice suit. Also nice suit.
yeah. Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud, nice suits. Max Duggan, nice suits, and Stetson Bennett was also there. Caleb Williams wins the Heisman Trophy. Won it going away. Had something like 2,000 points. Number 2 was Max Duggan, who had 1194, something like that. But Caleb Williams got, he won. He won going away, and I don't really have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. I think he was very good from start to finish this year. I think he was good in game 1, good in game 12, and good in between. And there were other contenders that would have bad games. He never really did. Even when they would lose, he still acquitted himself well on an individual basis. Caleb Williams, the Heisman Trophy winner. No problems with it for me. Casey Smith, you?
Yeah, no problems for me either. And I know, a lot of people looked at what happened in the Pac-12 championship and thought maybe he didn't deserve it. We talked about it after that. He did get very injured. He was completely one-dimensional as opposed to what we normally see from him. And it was one of those years where, multiple guys emerged as the leader, and then they either got injured like Hendon Hooker or had a game, where, CJ Stroud losing to Michigan, whatever it may be, everything along the way, just instead of the dominoes like stacking up, which we've seen in the past where guys just keep making more and more of a case, it felt like it was going to be the last guy standing to not fuck it up. And that's what it felt like. Even though Caleb didn't have a great game, he was still injured. So I didn't have a problem with it. And what was really interesting was looking at the full list of all the votes. It's exactly the guys that, we anticipated 1 through 10 when they put that out. But when you look at like some, there were 3 first place votes for Drake May. There were 4 first place votes for Bijan Robinson. So even though that's nowhere near what Caleb got, that'll tell you that 1 through 10, there were still people in the country that thought even those guys deserved first place votes. So it was just kind of a weird year for the Heisman.
Georgia fans just got all over me for my take on Stetson Bennett. He shouldn't have been in New York. I maintain that he shouldn't have been in New York. Doesn't mean he is not a very good player and Georgia's not a very good team. They're the best team. But on an individual award, I don't think he did enough individually to garner going in place of some of the guys he went in place of. I just burped in the middle of my sentence. But I don't think he did not garner enough. He didn't do enough individually Hendon Hooker's the guy I'm talking about. Hendon Hooker, to me, is the great robbery in this Heisman season. Now, he was never going to win it because he got hurt and they lost the game. But I still feel like even with his injury and the fact they lost that game to South Carolina, I still think he should have finished second. Like if I look at this entire year, Caleb Williams was consistently good from start to finish. Up until his injury, Hendon Hooker was incredible, except the game against Georgia, which nobody's going to be good against Georgia's defense. So I thought every criticism leveled at me by Georgia fans saying you just hate Stetson, you hate this. No, I just think Hendon Hooker was better. On an individual basis, Hendon Hooker was better than Stetson Bennett this year.
I think that the biggest thing with Hendon Hooker, when you look at, I agree, he should have been there. I like the fact that he wasn't there was robbery. And when I love whenever all the total votes come out, because you can actually look and see, how many first, second, and third place votes come out. And he got a ton of third place as well. So that just tells you he should have been in New York. He shouldn't have won the thing by the end of it. But I think that so many people really look at, how exciting he was and how awesome that offense was. And that game against Georgia. And I understand not many people are going to look good against Georgia. We get that. But the way that game was played, whether you agree or disagree with it, it was like the offensive line, the offense, everything, everybody struggled. And I think people use that as like, okay, well, his best game of the year was a dud. However, it's not like they lost that game because of Hendon Hooker. So he absolutely should have been there, but Caleb Williams deserved to win it by the end of it. And I know there were a ton of Tennessee fans that were talking shit last night. Like, you can't make the argument that Hendon Hooker, after losing to Georgia, getting hurt, obviously they lost South Carolina. You can't make the argument now that he should have won it over Caleb Williams. There's just no.
I feel like I could make that argument. I'm not going to. I'm fine with the winner, but I feel like that argument could be made if you just were dedicated to making it. But ultimately, Hendon Hooker gets all this. Oh, he didn't beat Georgia. He didn't beat Georgia. Yeah, he was incredible against Alabama, and he went to LSU and beat them by 1,000 at their place. He had a lot of things, but ultimately, I still think
he'd absolutely deserve to be there. There's no doubt. Go ahead.
I still think the Heisman has lost their way in the way they vote. I mean, 34 people voted Stetson Bennett as the best player in America. That happened. 34 people voted Stetson Bennett who finished 42nd in passing touchdowns, the very best player in America.
It really is.
Hold on. No, I'm sorry. I'm actually wrong. It was 36.
36.
It was 36. And it's more than the combined first place votes of Bryce Young and Hendon Hooker. That is a problem.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is because it's 34 between Bryce Young and Hendon Hooker. So for the first place votes. I just, when you look at this Heisman race, I think the reason, and I mean, I understand anytime I talk good about USC or good about Caleb Williams or Lincoln Riley, everyone's like, you're stuck on that. My thing is USC would not be even in the conversation to be in the college football playoff by the end of the year if it wasn't for that offense, because we saw how horrible their defense was, no tackling. So, and Hendon Hooker is obviously a huge reason for Tennessee's success as well, but Tennessee's defense had to step up in multiple situations. That game against Alabama and keeping Bryce Young somewhat contained until, he had his Bryce Young moments, but Caleb Williams off of USC is not even in the picture at all. Hendon Hooker, though, again, it's easy to say, it's at the end of the day, one guy wins it and that's fine. And, Caleb Williams will be up on stage for years and decades to come like the other guys are, but still inviting somebody to New York is an honor as well. And Hendon Hooker absolutely got robbed of that.
Is it snowing outside your place?
Is it?
Snowing outside mine.
Is a little bit.
Yeah.
I see. That'll tell you it's not. Is it rain, Jack?
I don't see anything outside mine, but I mean, we live far enough apart that maybe in 5 minutes.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
he's
we're
not
both in
accusing me of lying,
Manhattan,
is he?
Do what?
I'm not lying about the snow.
No, there is wet droplets hitting my windows right now, and I'm gonna say it's snow.
They haven't cleaned my windows in a while, so.
Damn.
One last thing about the Heisman. Lincoln Riley has coached 6 full seasons as a head coach in college football. He now has 3 Heisman Trophy winners. And a lot of people will think that's because of his offensive design, his quarterback development, stuff like that. I think it's just as much a product of where he's coached. He started his career as a coach at Oklahoma and then continued at USC, 2 places that have a lot of Heisman credibility. And he was able to, I think he stole one when Kyler Murray won it. Tua should have won that one. But he's, 3 out of 6 years. If you go out on the recruiting trail and you try to recruit a 5-star quarterback and say, hey, half of my quarterbacks win the Heisman Trophy, you're probably going to win that battle pretty much every time. So Lincoln Riley is he's not the championship coach yet, but he's the Heisman coach.
Yeah, he's a Heisman quarterback machine right now. I mean, it's like a factory if you go play. And there's obviously a very fair argument to be made where it's all right, if you've now had 50% of your quarterbacks as a head coach win the Heisman and you haven't won a playoff game, there's clearly something going on, which we know what it is. We know it's the defense. We know that's the situation. But I loved, and it was a very funny moment. And so, whether Caleb wrote his speech or had help writing his speech, when he got up there and he was like, hey, guys, I won, but the 3 of you guys are going to the college football playoff. Fantastic self-aware moment. But it did really shine a light on wow, Lincoln Riley, you want to go play quarterback, you're going to be up there every year with the best. Can he get somebody in that just gets that defense just good enough to win a playoff game, this year, obviously get in the playoff. So I loved that moment. I thought it was great. But at the end of the day, if you're a head coach pumping out Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, nobody's going to complain, or you shouldn't complain because it's pretty fucking cool.
I think one fun element to this is Caleb Williams is going to be back.
Yeah.
And we've had this multiple times over the last 10 years. Bryce Young just did it. He didn't quite get there. Tebow had a chance to win a second one. He didn't get it. Johnny had a chance to win a second one. He didn't get it. Jameis. There's been Heisman winners come back and have a second go at it. Nobody's really gotten all that close. But to me, Caleb Williams might be a case study because he's going to be better as an individual. But Lincoln Riley, this was the first year under Lincoln Riley at USC. They completely changed their roster. The roster will be better next year. They're going to use the transfer portal again, I'm sure, and they're going to keep developing. This will probably be the worst USC team they have out there in Lincoln Riley's first year. So I think Caleb Williams he might be the guy. He might be the guy that goes back to back.
Well, and we've saw with Bryce Young, if Alabama wouldn't have lost those 2 games this year, you could have, obviously, even if they just lost one, there would have been an argument that he could have won it because, like Brandon, you've said, and a lot of people have pointed out, his year was better this year than it was last year, but it all will depend on how much USC gets better defensively. And if they can win, I mean, would it surprise anybody if he won it again? Absolutely not. He's fucking electric.
What were you going to say, Jay?
Speaking of the of Lincoln Riley, it's also fascinating to me. We talk about sons and, fathers, sons, brothers.
Yeah.
The top two Heisman finishers were coached offensively by a Riley. Max Duggan was coached by Lincoln Riley's brother. I don't know, like, what's in the sauce over there. Is it their father? Is Lincoln teaching his brother to? I would be surprised by that. That's very interesting to me. I would love to ask either one of them, and it'd be like, is that just a coincidence? Or we've never really seen, well, I mean, no, we have, like the Harbaughs, but is coaching kind of, I don't know, passed down? I guess so. I'm just thinking out loud. I thought it was interesting. I mean, the top two quarterbacks were coached offensively by a Riley. We don't talk about Lincoln's brother enough.
No, the picture yesterday was really cool because I agree with you. Like, I know we've seen brothers have success at coaching, and obviously we've seen like the Manning brothers have success at playing, and like it might run in the family, but there was something different about this one because it's so offensive heavy. It's so much offensive minded. So like when they were growing up playing and like learning how to be coaches at some point, did they only focus on offense because it's working offensively at least? So that's that. I agree with you, Jack. I thought that was really cool. And also, like, if you're their parents, like, you got to be like, this is awesome. Like, good for them.
You know what else is awesome, Casey?
What is that, Brandon?
Before we get to Army-Navy was a game in a stadium. And if you wanted to go to Army-Navy in the stadium, what would you have done?
Probably the best option by far would have been to go download the Game Time app, Brandon. All year, we've been going to college football locations to do the college football show, and we give out tickets on Game Time every time we're there. But also, we know any sporting event, Jack's been to UFC, people have been to baseball, hockey, concerts, whatever. Game Time is the official ticketing provider of Barstool. And there's a reason why, not only because it's so awesome, but also because it's a guaranteed lowest price. And I know we talk a lot about material things that you can give for the holiday season, easy stocking stuffers and gifts under the tree, whatever. There are very few gifts that I would argue that people like more than getting to go to a favorite event, getting to go to some sort of concert they want to see or sporting event. Game Time can help you out. So if you're sitting at home right now and you're like, what am I going to give this person in my life for the holiday season? Go to Game Time, download the app. If you use code ROUGH, you get $20 off your first purchase. I feel like I've just given a ton of people ideas, like figure out the NFL season's still going. If you're in the college football playoff, if you love hockey, basketball, baseball, anything, go to Game Time, download the app, use code ROUGH, $20 off your first purchase. And then you can give that as a gift. And no one's going to complain about going to an event. Nobody.
No, everybody loves going to games. I went to a hockey game, like you said, and sat right there center ice, and it was beautiful. Where we live, we have a chance to go see the Knicks and the Rangers and all these things at Madison Square Garden. But wherever you are, it can be a stadium, it can be a concert, it can be whatever. Game Time is going to have tickets, and they're going to have tickets at the lowest price at the last minute, and that is a very, very valuable thing to have.
And if you, and I geek out about this, which I know a lot of people do, but it's like, if you're buying tickets for somebody else, you're going to want to make sure they're great tickets, right? You want to make sure you're showing off for whatever your price range may be. Game Time has that. But if you go to the app and you look, you can actually see what their view is going to be. And I think that's massive, because you don't have to worry about like, oh, I'm getting them these tickets because it's in my price range and Game Time's helping me out with the lowest price. But are they actually going to be able to see what they want? You can physically see what your view will be on the Game Time app. So again, download it, use code ROUGH, $20 off your first purchase. Happy holidays, folks. We just gave you a great idea.
How's that chili?
Chili?
I made a chili today.
Can you?
No, I don't want any right now. How is it?
I want some. Can you bring me some?
I was worried I put too many spices in it.
Never.
Just relax, Smith.
God, chili sounds so good.
Oh, it's a good chili day. The snow stopped. Never mind.
There's
still cold though.
There's still some wetness on my windows over here.
All right, now moving on. we have Army Navy happened yesterday, and we did the college football show there, and there were a lot of people, a lot of good energy. The weather was good. It was clear skies, beautiful. You had the flyovers, you had the pomp, you had the circumstance, you had the first overtime game in the 123-year history of the rivalry, and it was that. Now, am I un-American for what I'm about to say?
Well, it depends on what you're about to say.
The pomp, the circumstance is incredible. The cadets, the pageantry, amazing, beautiful. The spectacle. When the football starts, it kind of
Part of the allure.
It kind of stinks, right? I mean, like I got here and I was watching my wife yesterday, and they both run the same offense, and they both know what each other's going to do. And I know it got interesting in overtime when they hit a couple touchdowns, but for the most of that game, it's just hard to watch. It's not exciting football.
But it's part of the allure, I think.
How is that part of the allure?
Because it has its own weekend for a reason, which you mentioned it. It's the most American game. It's the pomp and circumstance, all the things we talked about and we've talked about in the past, where it's like, the intensity and the emotion between those two service academies are huge. But I feel like it's just kind of a rite of passage for Army Navy to be like, you know what, they're going to run 2 total plays the entire time. Yeah. It's going to be exactly what you think it's going to be.
I hope when we go to war, we got better ideas than fullback dive every time.
I think we do. We probably do, Brandon. I don't know that for a fact because I don't have that.
Who's calling our plays during the wars?
I don't know. Don't get Jack started. I feel like this is a politics rant that we could potentially go to.
No, Jack's either going to go hardcore with me or hardcore the other way. Jack, you're cooking up something. What is it?
I'm trying to combat your point. Combat's the perfect word. Also play devil's advocate. I think it's part of the, obviously a lot of these guys playing aren't the, prototypical D1 players. Maybe they're a little smaller, not as fast, but it's part of we celebrate these guys kind of in a way before they go off and serve for the country. And even if it's not the most exciting, it is something that's like, okay, they tell the stories of the players, you hear some cool things. This guy's father or mother served in the Army, Air Force, Navy, and then you see the passion, you see how much they care. It does really feel like a low-level high school game, but at the end, you see how much these guys care, and it's nothing special. There's a part of the game yesterday I was like,
I love America. I love America.
This is really boring, but we have to
pretend it's good. We have to pretend it's great, right?
There's not many days left in this country anymore where everyone comes together and celebrates America. And this is one of them. So I'm for it. But yeah.
And being American, or at least I know I'm free.
There are definitely moments during the game when you're watching it that you're like, okay, if these were any other 2 teams on the planet, I would not be watching this game anymore. So I do understand what you're saying, but you have to watch it with different lenses. You have to put it on and be like, all right, it's not a game that's probably ever going to matter for the college football playoff. It's not a game that's exciting to watch because everyone's scoring a gazillion points, but we're watching it for the troops, and we love the troops. And Brandon, who doesn't love the troops?
Who?
ESPN, because they didn't even come yesterday. That's bullshit.
Do you think at halftime during the CBS broadcast, Gary Danielson has to go to the bathroom and splash water on his face? Like, this isn't Alabama. This isn't Alabama. This isn't Alabama.
He's like, and I can't even find a way to work Alabama into
I can't even do it. I don't, how am I supposed to talk about Saban, guys? He's like being a diva. He's like being a diva on set, yelling at everybody.
Yeah, he doesn't have his outlet, his crutch. Like, we all have crutches that we like to lean on in certain moments when you're on air. He doesn't have that. I will say that, we said it yesterday too. We've obviously both been into it. It is a game where if you've never been to the stadium, I know next year it's at Gillette in Foxborough, it is a bucket list game to go, but make sure you go in early enough to get to see all the really cool things. And then the game itself, it's like, if you love football, and especially if you have somebody connected to you, like Jack said, with service, then it's great. But the main part is go see all the festivities. It is absolutely very high up on the sports bucket list, no doubt.
All right, now.
Is it?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Jack.
No, is it? I keep hearing that. It's like, yeah, you have to go. You have to.
Jack,
like,
we're
do you
already
have to go?
Jack, we're already communists for the football take. I don't know that we can go any further.
I will tell you that the times I've now been inside twice, and it is a completely different feeling, because it is like and I know we've run this quote into the ground at Barstool, but it was something that was said in the pregame prayer in 2019, I believe. But it was, this is the only game, which I know there's more games because the Air Force obviously plays football as well, but this is one of the only games where everybody that's playing on the field is willing to die for everybody who's watching them. And I do think that plays into it, but it's a very cool thing, because it's like, that football at the end of the day is not their number one priority. It's very high up there, but they're playing a game when in reality they're willing to sacrifice their lives. So I do think it's that cool.
All right.
I really do.
All right. Now we're going to get into our awards, our off the beaten path awards. Before we do that, Casey, you have something else to tell the people.
I do. I have something to tell the people about Freebird, and it is formally known as Freedom Grooming. So you may be very familiar, you may not be, but this is where I need my bald men to listen. Listen up, because we have a lot of different, mechanisms of shaving and different things that you can do for different parts of your body. Freebird is for the bald men, because so many people are shaving the top of their head wrong, Brandon. So many people are using razors that are not meant for the shape of a head, and that's not good. You can get painful nicks, you can get cuts, irritation, but with Freebird, it's actually designed for the dome that's on top of you.
Yeah.
So it's a multi-blade razor. You can also use it on your face as well, but it's like, you're not going to want to use just like a random razor that's built for a leg or an arm or whatever for the top of your head. Why do you want to be uncomfortable?
You don't. Why would you ever want to be uncomfortable? That just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all. So the razor that they have right now has 5 rotary blades that individually flex. Anytime you can use the word flex, it's good. To the head's curvature, you get the closest shave of your life in minutes. Plus, when compared to traditional manual razors, the Flex series shaves 50% more hair in a single stroke. And I've never shaved my head, but I can imagine that, when you're rushing other parts of your body, you can cover them up. You can't really cover up your head as much.
No.
You want it to go fast. You want it to be a clean shave. And also, men, say it again, if you're holding on to like the few hairs up there, you're trying to do the little cul-de-sac, whatever, don't do it. Go bald. Bald
I'm
is
not
very
sure anybody calls it a cul-de-sac.
It looks like a cul-de-sac.
Okay, fair enough.
Think about it. It's like,
I know, I got it. I know what you're saying.
what would you call it?
I have no idea. All I know is I have a luscious head of locks, and if I ever do need to shave my head, I'm going to use Freebird. But my head is a disaster.
Yeah, your head is as misshapen. Your mom told me you have a gigantic lump, and they thought it was a tumor. No, it's just the shape of your head. So right now, men, women out there that want your man to shave your head, again, bald can be very sexy. The upcoming holidays, birthdays, or just because, get the best shaver of your life. Freebird, again, previously Freedom Grooming, is giving our listeners an exclusive discount, Brandon. We love that. We love to hear it. So go to myfreebird.com/Casey. It's Kayce. In case you don't know, my parents really made it difficult.
Why does your name get you get the bald headed shaving app? Why do you get Katie?
I think we've talked about this when we've done this before, is because they know that if I'm saying out, to the men out there, bald is sexy, they might listen to me before they listen to you.
Fair enough. All right.
myfreebird.com/Casey for 20% off. Bald is sexy. Go do it. Also, even if you just need to kind of shape up some things, you don't want the Knicks. Freebird's got you.
You do not want the Knicks. They're not a good basketball team. All right, here we go.
This is cool though.
I wrote down about 11, 12 awards that we're going to give out. Now, yesterday the Heisman was given out, and awards were given out to the Blitnikoff, again, Jalen Hyatt. There was the Jim Thorpe Award given out. I previously assigned Jack to give us that list, and he left.
No, he's right here.
He left. Jack just left. Let me just go through that list real quick because I do have it on my phone right now.
I have it.
Blitnikoff was for the best receiver was Jalen Hyatt. The best defensive player, Bronco Nagurski Trophy, Will Anderson of Alabama. The Broyles Award, Garrett Riley. Offensive coordinator, quarterback coach at TCU. The Burlsworth Trophy, top former walk-on, Stetson Bennett, Georgia. See, that's a good award for him. That's nice. The Buckus Award for the top linebacker, Jack Campbell at Iowa. The Chuck Bednarik Award, Defensive Player of the Year, Will Anderson. Davey O'Brien, top quarterback, Max Duggan. Doak Walker, top running back, Bijan Robinson. Interesting, Blake Corum didn't win that, huh?
Yeah.
And he's the guy that got all the Heisman love. Eddie Robinson, Coach of the Year Award, Kirby Smart. George Munger Award, the top Division I coach. Somebody, that box is empty. Okay. Heisman Trophy was Caleb Williams, Jim Thorpe, Travius Hodges Tomlinson, TCU, and he should not have won it. It should have gone to Emmanuel Forbes, Mississippi State. The John Mackey Award for the top tight end, Brock Bowers, Georgia. He's probably the most talented tight end, but he should not have won that award. Meyer from Notre Dame should have won that award. Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, top upperclassman quarterback, Max Duggan. Lombardi Award for college football lineman, Will Anderson. Lou Groza Award, top kicker, Christopher Dunn, NC State. Maxwell Award for college player of the year, Caleb Williams. The Outland Trophy for the top interior lineman.
Yeah, good luck saying this thing.
Yeah, go for it, Brandon. Give it a good old college try.
Oluwatimi from the center from Michigan. He also has a first name. Oluskan Oluwatimi, center, Michigan. Oluwatimi, perhaps. Paul Hornung Award for most versatile player, Jack Coletto, linebacker from Oregon State, top punter. Adam Korsak, Rutgers, top center. Oluwatimi from Michigan. Go ahead.
I have a take. The saddest award in college football,
yes,
is top punter. It's almost saying you have the worst team.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're going to have punters as a position, you have to be able to award the guys, right? I mean, just let them have a little thing. The Werfel Trophy, given community service, I used to be a part of the group that gives this award out down in Niceville, Florida. Dylan Gibbons, Florida State. Okay. Now, we're going to add some awards right here. We might keep doing this throughout the week.
We're going to add them, and I'm very excited. This is my take on this. Award season in college football has gotten very much watered down. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because, the internet, obviously you can catch up on everything. Yeah. But it's like the award season, at least when I was growing up, it seemed like it was like the Heisman Trophy ceremony was like a must tune in if you're a college football fan. It doesn't feel like that as much anymore. Am I crazy for saying that? Does it feel like it's not as big of a deal?
I did not watch. I do not want to watch that award ceremony. I'll tune in with 5 minutes left because I know that's when they're going to give the award away. I don't care.
Yeah, they drag it out. They did interview all the families, and all the families did a very good job. That's something that probably not a lot of people even paid attention to.
I don't care about these kids' families.
I know you don't, Brandon. You don't care about anybody's family, even your own.
I like mine. They're okay.
I know you do. No, but I tweeted this last night. Obviously, people are going to roll their eyes because of the name I'm about to say, but the fact that Johnny Manziel was 10 years ago, like how, I mean, I know they say as you get older, time flies by. How was that a decade ago?
Well, you're getting old, JC. You're getting very old.
I know, but it's like they announced him as like, 10-year anniversary, whatever. And it was just like 10 years. I know when I hear 2012, I know it's 10 years ago, but to be reminded, it's like, geez, but there were a lot of moments last night on Twitter that I was noticing. And I was really going back and forth with a lot of people who were trying to say Caleb Williams' Gucci suit wasn't fashionable, like read a book. But people were like, yeah, I mean, the award isn't paid attention to as much as it used to be. The awards we're about to give out though, Brandon.
Yes.
People should pay attention to.
All right. The first one is the Brandon Walker TV Announcer of the Year.
It can't be the Unnecessary Roughness one?
Correct. It cannot be. The Brandon Walker TV Announcer of the Year. Now, this isn't just a show award. We're all going to say our winners, right? Jack, I'll let you go first. The TV Announcer of the Year is
Dan Orlovsky.
Okay. Why do homerism right off the bat?
It's his award.
You're about to do it. You're about to do it.
I'm not about to do it.
Okay.
I may be a little bit about to do a kind of an Unnecessary Roughness Homer award, but whatever.
Okay. All right. TV announcer of the year, Casey Smith.
Kirk Herbstreit.
All right. And my
And
TV announcer. Yes.
I will say it's not just because we love Kirk, but I think the fact that this man is able to do what he does every single week. And then they added the Amazon game on Thursday, and he still is one of the most intelligent, knowledgeable, and entertaining guys. And it's seamless. Like, people do not understand how hard it is to do one game. He does a billion. And also, we just love Kirk Herbstreit.
And he's dreamy as all hell.
The blue eyes, man. The blue eyes. You can't get away from him.
My TV announcer of the year is Gus Johnson, Fox Sports. I think over the last couple of years, we've seen a dramatic shift in the country where Fox and the Big Ten have taken complete ownership of that 12 o'clock window, Fox Big Noon Saturday. And this year they had bigger games than ever, culminating with Michigan and Ohio State in that noon window. And Gus Johnson is the voice of those games. He's become one of the most important voices in college football in a relatively short period of time. I think Gus Johnson's the TV announcer of the year.
I do not hate it. I have an honorable mention I would like to put out there, and I would not give this man announcer of the year, but I believe that he should be spoken about, because when you look at all the networks, all the podcasts, all the media companies, unless it's your own or somebody that you work with every day, you probably do not remember what their college football playoff four were, right? I mean, there's millions of people that predict it. You know what everyone was talking about through the College Football Playoff Committee selection day last week? Desmond Howard. Desmond Howard, whether he believed in those four teams or not, when he put Michigan, Pitt, Baylor, and A&M in the college football playoff, everyone talked about it. And at the end of the day, that is the point of being a media personality. It's having people know who you are and talk about your takes. I talk about Kirk Herbstreit. I have no idea who Kirk Herbstreit's final four were off the top of my head. I can go find it out pretty easily. I remember Desmond Howard's, not just because my team was in it. Honorable mention for a guy that knows how to get clicks and knows how to stay in the conversation.
I'm going to take a wild stab and say Herbstreit's final four is probably more accurate than Desmond's.
No, definitely. I'm not saying it was anywhere near correct. You only got one. However, we were all tweeting the GIF of him and the meme of him even up to last week. And so if your name can stay that relevant in a conversation that we're all talking about, you get my award, my honorable mention.
The Unnecessary Roughness College Football Stadium of the Year. And we will present this award to the stadium. We will walk it there and just leave it in its arms. The Stadium of the Year, Jack.
I'm going to give it to Neyland Stadium, Rocky Top.
All right. Go ahead.
A phenomenal job by all the fans, that stadium this year. Iconic moments left and right. Neyland Stadium.
Casey Smith.
I will also be giving it to Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee, Brandon. All the reasons Jack just said. Also, it's electric before they're good. You add them being good, one of the best in the country.
Will probably be our only unanimous award, but the Unnecessary Roughness Stadium of the Year goes to Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. The scene of the sunset and the Alabama game and them carrying the goalpost into the river was probably the best scene in college football all season. The Unnecessary Roughness Award for craziest game moment that shaped the playoff. The craziest in-game moment that shaped the college football playoff. This was an award entered into the lexicon by Casey Smith. So, Casey, do you have one?
I do. I believe it's something that we've talked about ad nauseum, not only with us, but with one of the guys involved in it. It would be the TCU walk-off field goal against Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact they were able to pull that together in 19 seconds and everybody was on the edge of their couch. And just the way that could have gone. I mean, we wouldn't have been talking about TCU playing Michigan on the 31st. So that game to me was the craziest moment because no one thought it was possible. And then at the end of the game for Sonny Dykes to just be like, oh yeah, that's exactly how we called it. It's like, well, no, it wasn't. But the fact that you believe that and you're saying that makes it even more crazy.
Jack, the craziest in-game moment that shaped the playoff.
I think LSU going for 2 against Alabama to win the game.
Good one.
I think if Alabama didn't lose that game, we would probably have a Alabama playoff right now.
Mine also involves Alabama, but it's a different moment. Again, if they lose this game, if they win this game, they're in the playoff, but they didn't. And it's a moment we really don't talk about enough. It's when Kool-Aid McKinstry for Alabama picked off a pass in the end zone, started running up the sidelines, and made it to about Tennessee's 30-yard line before an official threw a flag for pass interference. In the if you've seen the photo from Alabama fans, where McKinstry is literally in midfield running the ball back, and that's when the guy throws his flag for pass interference. If he does not throw that flag, Tennessee loses that game, Alabama wins it, and we're talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide in the playoff today. So that's a play that we don't talk about as much, but it could have gone the other way because it was a play that Alabama made, and I'm not sure, like, it might have been pass interference, but boy, there was a lot of close things in that game. But the fact that he threw it as late as he did was really, really incredible. The Unnecessary Roughness Award, and some of these I haven't even told you about, by the way. So that'll be good.
I'm off the cuff too.
But wait, I did text you most of these.
Yeah.
You texted one.
No, I didn't.
No,
okay. I'm fine. Continue.
All right. Here's one that I'm just hitting y'all with. Okay, you haven't heard this one.
Okay.
The Unnecessary Roughness team you found yourself rooting for this year who's not your own. The team you found yourself rooting for this year that is not your own. I will go first since I'm the only one that knew the award was coming. To me, in the first 5 weeks of the season, it's hard to remember now, but how electric was that 5-0 start for Kansas? I loved every bit of it. I was rooting for Kansas. They've been the dregs of college football for a while, for a couple of decades. Lance Leipold started off, they ended up making a bowl at 6-6, but that 5-0 start was incredible and awesome, and I was rooting for it at every turn. Now, if you've had time in your mind to come up with it, the team you found yourself rooting for that is not your own, Casey Smith.
It would be USC. I mean, USC was a team that I jumped on in the offseason, then went into, just the bowels of the internet with OU fans over it. But what I found throughout the season was it wasn't just rooting on them because I was gambling on them. It wasn't just rooting for them because I had stuck to that take. It was, I actually wanted to see USC succeed. And I know a lot of people think that that's the way I feel about Michigan. I do root for Michigan, but I don't have an emotion. I didn't have the emotional attachment to a take like I did USC this season. So I would say USC. And by the way, never in my life would I have thought a Pac-12 team would have my emotional attachment whatsoever. And outside of A&M being an absolute disaster, I really cared a lot about where USC was. I
would like to announce that the snow has returned to my house. It is once again snowing outside. Are you going to
put your figurines out there like you always do?
This isn't supposed to stick, so no. I wait for the big first snowstorm of the year for that. Jack, your team that you found yourself rooting for that is not your own.
TCU, I think that's an easy answer. And then I also found myself rooting for Texas A&M a lot.
Oh, Jack.
That was weird. Why?
The reason is not because of KC. Well, I do like KC, and I think it's great. Like, I root for UNC, Texas A&M, and Mississippi State because I think when our teams win, it's better for the podcast. However, I was rooting for myself because this is a bad look for my recruiting take.
Okay, fair. Yeah, it really is.
Fair.
Although, Jack, I really think all that recruiting argument is probably moot now because this transfer portal, we're going to have to study over the next 2 or 3 years what high school recruiting really even means anymore because it's completely going to be changing and different. And I don't know, man.
We are entering a new era.
The world has changed and it's changing quickly. You want a top 10 class, but A&M had the number 1 class in the country last year. Ole Miss had the number 1 transfer class, and Ole Miss had a lot better season. So,
also, Jack, I appreciate, regardless of why you were, and I almost thought you were going to say you're doing it because of the social media moments. I'll take your support however we can get it. Also, Brandon, you always ask me how many players. As of this morning, what I saw is 19 players have left.
All right.
That's a lot.
Next award, the dumbest fan base complaint of the season, the Unnecessary Roughness Award for dumbest fan base complaint of the season. Go ahead, Casey Smith.
This is recency bias, but I cannot believe this is a thing. I don't even know if it's one specific fan base. I can imagine it's coming mostly out of Norman, Oklahoma. People complaining about Caleb Williams painting his nails. And last night, the amount of people that were like, oh, well, the Heisman Trust clearly doesn't care about character. This man painted fuck on his nails. Are you kidding me? With all the things that we have going on in this world, you're going to choose the hill to die on is the man wanted to paint his nails. First of all, he plays at USC. Second of all, men can paint their nails if they want. 3, you think that the word fuck painted on the nails is the worst thing that's even being shown in that game? It was bizarre to me. I saw a lot of OU fans talking about it. I saw a ton of Tennessee fans talking about it, to the point where I thought that maybe it was a troll. Whereas, like, you really care this much that this man painted his nails and had a swear word put out there? Oh my God, clutch my pearls.
Jack. I'm sorry, the category is the dumbest fan base complaint of the year.
Michigan State fans caring about a man carrying a gun in his car that he was obtaining a permit for and was not using. It was just in his car, and acting like he literally set the world on fire. Also, dumbest complaining, or just like dumbest stance, Michigan State fans again, for thinking that their players assaulting a Michigan player was warranted because a player earlier in the year was driving around with a gun he, I believe, legally purchased, but just did not have the permit for at the time. So Michigan State fans doubling up. Congrats, you losers.
Yeah. Big year in East Lansing. And mine is not a particular fan base at all, but it is one that we see come up in arguments time and time again. And I've seen Georgia fans do it, Kentucky fans, Oklahoma fans, every fan base does it. And it's just ridiculous. When they disagree with what you say about their team, or they get their feelings hurt about what you say about their team, they say, oh, it doesn't matter. You're just saying it for clicks. You're just saying it because you know we'll engage. You're just saying it because we have the #1 fan base on Twitter and you'll get engagement. No, you don't. You don't. Kansas State fans, you don't have the #1 fan base on Twitter. Kentucky fans, you don't have the #1 fan base on Twitter. Georgia fans, you don't have the #1 fan base on Twitter. Like, I'm saying these things that Stetson Bennett shouldn't have made the Heisman ceremony because Stetson Bennett shouldn't have made the Heisman ceremony. I'm not desperately going to Americus, Georgia, and hanging outside the Dollar General, shaking a can, trying to get clicks. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm saying facts, okay? So college football fans want you to talk about their team at all times because that makes them relevant. But when you talk about their teams, they will accuse you of simply doing it because you want their attention. And it is ridiculous. All right.
It is ridiculous. While you were saying that, I realized that we don't have to do it on this episode, but like, I'd be curious of what's the fan base we've all crossed hairs with the most? Because when you were talking about Stetson Bennett, it made me remember how much Georgia fans cared that I said that Samford wasn't going to be loud for the Tennessee game, or it was going to be loud, but it wasn't going to affect Hendon Hooker. And I still get mentions of that. Remember when you said that? It's like, guys, like, you won the game. I admitted at halftime I was wrong. I'd be curious to see which fan base we've all gone to combat with the most. Probably OU.
Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, Arkansas. I don't know.
You know what? Far and away, Arkansas. You're right.
The 2022 Best Player to Play With If the College Football Video Game Were Still a Thing award. The 2022 Best Football Player to Play With on the Video Game. Yes, Casey.
I'll go first because I've never played that game, so I don't know how it all works. And I'm just going to be just very cliche. I would say Hendon Hooker. He's got to be high up there, right?
Yeah, he would be high. Let me tell you what you want.
Okay, tell me what I want.
Speed. Whether it's a running back or a quarterback or anything, speed makes the most interesting players on that game. And therefore, my answer is indicative of that. Now, Caleb Williams, I'm sure, would be amazing. He'd be like 99. But I'm going to go a little bit past that. What you want is a quarterback who can throw it and a quarterback who can run it. And I bet Anthony Richardson's ratings on that game would be absurd. I bet he'd be like a 98 speed, 95 speed, something like that. And you could take Anthony Richardson and just turn him into what Caleb Williams is in real life. So I go Anthony Richardson. You can actually play him up to the potential he falls short of himself. Jack.
Anthony Richardson, great answer. I think Jaden Daniels would be awesome too. Running around, throwing it, running it. Jaden Daniels would be a lot of fun. I think we've mentioned Deuce Vaughn before. I even think Max Duggan would be not bad either, just from the perspective of running and throwing. I'm trying to think of like a random off the beat. Michael Penix would be sick, but he doesn't really run it that much. So
Will Anderson would be also just having like the defensive end that's just that much better than everybody else in the game. That's always fun when you lean on that.
So
All
would
right.
like Bijan Robinson be a high up?
Oh, it'd be great. Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be great.
See, I need them to come out with this new game so that we can do content of you teaching me how to do this, because I want to know. I want to know how this feels.
Let's see. The craziest score of the year. The craziest score of the year. The score that made you go, what? Mine. Well, I'll go last. Jack, do you have one?
damn, the
I have
score
one.
that made me go, what? I think when Arkansas was up like 42-3 on Ole Miss, it became more respectable at the end, but it was like a beatdown that we've never seen before. I think that was the one that was like, what the fuck? And then, yeah, I'm probably blanking on a few others, but that's mine right off the top.
What about you, Casey?
I have two. One being an obvious one is the Tennessee South Carolina score, because not only did they lose, they lost by like 30 points. And Spencer Rattler had the most touchdowns he had. He had more touchdowns that game than he had in all the SEC games combined. This one is absolutely recency bias, but I don't care, because it's something that we talked about yesterday morning on the college football show, and something that never happens. Army Navy going over, because the betting the under of that game, and I believe it was 32.5 by kickoff, is another rite of passage of Army Navy. The fact that and I understand it went into overtime, but the fact that now next year when we speak about this game, we can say, wow, the over did hit. Shocking, because if you aren't following that game and you see the score and you realize that more than 20 points were scored, you're like, what?
Well, as an underbetter, it should not have hit.
It should not have hit. Absolutely not. And I bet the under too, because again, it's a rite of passage. It's a rite of passage to know that the triple option is going to be played over and over. There are going to be 2 plays total, and that the under will hit, which is why I'm giving it the most shocking thing, because it shouldn't have even happened.
So I've got 2. And it was number one. Well, actually, my honorable mention was North Carolina 63, App State 61 back in, it seems like it was 5 years ago, but it was back in September. It was in week 1, because North Carolina played in week 0, I think. So it was week 1, 63-61, just an incredible game. And I think they combined for like 50 something points in the fourth quarter. It was an absurd game. But I think the one that really shocked me the most as you go into the season was, remember about halfway through, October 29th, we had 6-2 Oklahoma State playing 6-2 Kansas State. And you're still trying to figure out the Big 12. You know, everybody's chasing TCU, but who's gonna step forward? And Kansas State beat them 48-0. And I just remember thinking, like, what? Why is there 48 points difference? When did Oklahoma State decide to show up and not score? Like, this was one of the weirdest scores I can remember, because Oklahoma State, I mean, they're continuously, I mean, every year consistent and good, and not great, but good. And then they just get embarrassed like that in a big game. That just didn't feel like Mike Gundy to me. That was one of the weirdest scores of the season to me.
That was weird. We were on our way to the hangar to like fly home from wherever we were that weekend. And just off the top of my head, since you said that, I think that the Red River shootout was pretty abnormal for most people too, to see.
Wow. Navy just fired Ken Niumatalolo. I don't even ever know how to say his name, but yeah, he just got fired.
Huh.
Damn.
Interesting.
Damn.
The Unnecessary Roughness Award for the most delusional fans, Casey Smith.
I'm going to go with the Alabama Crimson Tide. And I know that it's an award that I'm giving out solely based on the end of the season. And I fell into the trap a little bit. I walked it back once I saw how USC played. And then obviously seeing the way that LSU played against Georgia. But the fact that Alabama fans, up until whatever time it was last week when they announced it, were still trying to argue that they deserve to be in the college football playoff, even seeing all of the things come to fruition because they're Alabama, and that Nick Saban got up there and did his political PSA and used gambling odds. To me, it was like, and I understand that there are definitely arguments to be made, However, delusional to think because you are Alabama, you would be the first ever 2-loss team in the playoff when there were teams ahead of you that didn't have 2 losses. That was an insane 24 hours watching that unfold.
Most delusional fans, Jack.
Yeah, that was. I'm adding another award right now.
Good.
Wildest moment of the year was wildest off the field moment was what Casey just said. Nick Saban going on. What's wrong, Brandon?
I mean, you didn't see the list. The next award is the best off the field moment.
Jack clearly read like one that you sent, didn't see any that I sent, didn't see any that you sent. He read one.
All right,
right.
Delusional. I think we're gonna give it to Oklahoma. They came into the season like thinking they would be hand in hand with Lincoln Riley, even win the divorce. And now there's a lot of time left. One season's not all, but brother, they did not win it this year.
I'm going to give the most delusional fans award as a collective to the SEC flavor of the week, because we saw it grab multiple fan bases this year, where if you start 3-0, 4-0, all of a sudden AP voters reward you with a number you don't deserve. They put Arkansas number 7 in the country, never was close to that. Kentucky number 7 in the country, never was close to that. Ole Miss got as high as number 5 or 6, never was close to that. And LSU, when they beat Alabama, we put them up at number 5. And every single time, not one of those fan bases stopped to think, are we really this good? No, they just assumed, oh, we're 3-0. They got us in top 10. God, you guys all suck our dicks because we're just incredible. Kentucky fell for it. Arkansas fell for it. Ole Miss fell for it. LSU fell for it. And it's delusion brought forth by voters who don't know what they're talking about.
Fair enough. I like it.
This award is called the best off-field moment of the year. Jack, you want to go first?
Yes, Nick Saban begging on his knees to get into the playoff by using literally the excuse, or not the excuse, please look at every metric except for the most important one, which is we have 2 losses. Yeah, we would be favored in the game. I never thought I'd see the day Nick Saban would even embrace sports gambling, which is cool and all, but like also in that moment, kind of weird. I don't know who made him do that. I would assume it was him because he controls all in Alabama, but that was something.
Casey.
I'm going to say the Auburn coaching search coming down to Hugh Freeze, because we all expected Lane Kiffin to be there. Some of us on this podcast were dying on that hill, and I know you'll die on that hill again next year for a different school, which I totally appreciate. But I think the first time I saw Hugh Freeze is actually taking this job, it exploded people's minds everywhere. People didn't know how to handle it. And then my honorable mention would also be the Dion move to Colorado.
This one's tough. I kind of just want to pick that scene of Tennessee fans walking that goalpost into the river, and everything that came out after that. And there's also a similar scene when App State beat. Was it when they beat you guys? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to bring up. Was it when they beat you guys and we had the shots of them in the streets of Boone, North Carolina?
Yeah, when they were like all like taking over the entire street,
right,
like, embracing each other. Yes, that was.
Yeah. All right. The school with the most viral moments. This was you can explain this award, Casey, because you came up with it. The school with the most viral moments. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah, the most viral team of the year. I love bringing this up because we have a social media genius on our podcast, Mr. Jack McGuire, because I think that is something that when people look at Barstool, it's like one of the best things that we do. And I think that the answer is probably pretty obvious. I'm going to go away from that just because I don't want to. I know where Jack's probably going to go. He knows what does numbers and what doesn't. I think that every team that lost this year, and Jack, the kid's name on TikTok, what happened? That kid,
James.
Yeah, I love him. I love it. And it's not just college football. So the fan base to me is not just one fan base. It's if you lost a game you were not supposed to lose, you knew that man was coming for your ass. And I loved watching it because it's pure and it's funny. And it's just like, damn, you got served by James.
Well, what was the award?
Most
Most vi-
viral.
Most viral team. I just keep coming back to this team, but I really feel like Tennessee just dominated the internet all year.
Yep.
Up until they when they got hurt. But what was the guy's name that maybe had some problematic things? But the rap before the Georgia game, before the Alabama game, one of them, Tennessee just kept coming. Tennessee just kept coming up and kept coming up and kept coming up. I thought they pretty much ran the sport this year until they lost to South Carolina. Jack, what's yours?
Wait, what's the clogger guy's name?
Oh, Zeb Ross.
Zeb Ross. Zeb Ross went fucking viral too.
I
Zeb
think
Ross is the man.
JC won this award because James is the face of college football losers this year. Like, he's not the loser, but he calls out the losers. Shout out James. I think the viral moment was him going in the Oklahoma locker room because he's from Oklahoma and he hates with a passion Lincoln Riley, because I think he's an Oklahoma fan, and he hates Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams because when they lost, he goes, Lincoln Riley, like with passion. So he was it. Outside of that, I agree with Brandon as well.
Oh, good.
Tennessee fans, they're winning. I think probably the biggest college football tweet this year off of our account was post our Tennessee beating Alabama.
I honestly thought that somebody would bring up yell practices, so I appreciate it. We can keep it moving.
Now, the last one is the Down in the Dumps Award, the saddest moment for a fan base this year. Who hurt the most and when did they hurt the most? I'll go first. Hate to do it again. Tennessee losing to South Carolina with everything. It feels like 98. You've dominated the season. You got a Heisman Trophy contender. Everything is going right. And all you got to do to play for a national title is beat a trash South Carolina team and beat a trash Vanderbilt team. At least that's what we thought at the time. And they went in there and not only lost, they gave up 63 points. They lost their quarterback. I cannot imagine the pain coming out of that because you waited 2 decades to be relevant again. You've got it. And somebody that you view as gum on the bottom of your shoe steps up and slaps you in the face and reminds you that, no, you're actually not that great. That had to hurt like hell. Continue, Casey Smith.
I'm going to continue on. So I had 3 different ones of ways I could go, but the one that I think fans expected the least of the 3 would be Clemson losing to South Carolina, because Clemson fans all year, we saw them in our mentions over and over and over. Oh, nobody's respecting Dabo. The ACC isn't getting the love, arguing about Clemson being in the college football playoff, especially once teams started to lose a little bit. And then for them to go in and still have that chance to sneak in, still have the chance, even though with 4 teams, no one wanted to see them outside of Clemson. Them losing to South Carolina, who is their bitter rival, who they love to remind that their little brother, losing that, having to bench their quarterback, absolute just sadness across the board. And then my honorable mention with that would be the people who did not want to see the college football playoff expanded as a whole. That collective just took a gigantic L. I understand you can debate it. I understand you can make your point. I understand you might have valid points. You got to get with the times. Sorry about you. It's expanding. It should expand. Cry about it. Move on.
Jack, you'll have the last word on this show. The saddest moment for the saddest fans this year.
The saddest moment.
Oh, also, while you're thinking about this, Jack, also add into the Clemson point, Spencer Rattler just smoked a cigar right in your fucking face.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I think I'll just, Michigan State losing to Indiana, a disgustingly bad Indiana team.
All right. So
missing field goals that were 20 yards.
I love Jack's vendetta with Michigan State so much. It's beautiful.
Securing your spot as a non-bowl team.
Damn.
That's my saddest moment.
all right. Now, we haven't really sat down and talked about all the bowls, so let's do that when we get together back on Tuesday. And we might, if you have some ideas for awards, hit us up on Twitter and let us know. We'll do your awards too, as we continue looking back and looking forward. So Katie will be back with us hopefully on Tuesday. I guess no better way or no better time. Just go ahead and end it. Let's go watch some NFL football. Yes.
Let's
Yep.
do it. Jack, have a good day at work.
All
See
right.
ya.
That is Unnecessary Roughness.